بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد إخوة الإسلام عباد الله. There was a question posed to me on WhatsApp that I'd like to reply to, and the question is as follows. Assalamu alaikum akhi, is it allowed to play Nasheed without instruments? Good content without women's voices for walimas. Jazakumullahu khaira. Now, first and foremost, when responding to this particular question, then I like to reply with wa alaikumus salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Secondly, when dealing with this particular issue, then I'd like to just read from the fatwa of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin, rahimahullah. And this is coming from his book, Liqa'at al-Bab al-Maftuh, and this is the 10th volume, right? And this is coming from Al-Liqa' al-Tasi' wal-Ishrun ba'ad al-Miyatain, or the 229th meeting, under the 10th question to that meeting. So the questioner, he states, Ma hukm al-anashid al-islamiyya? What is the ruling concerning the Islamic related nasheed? The Shaykh, he responds, Al-anashid al-islamiyya barakallahu fik تغيرت حسب ما نسمع فصار الآن يترنم فيها المنشد حتى تكون مثل الأغاني الماجنة. He states that the Islamic related nasheed, may Allah bless you, it changed according to what we hear of it. So the munshid, the one that is reciting it, for lack of a better translation, recites or sings it or harmonizes it, whichever word best fits for what is done there. It is now it has gotten to the point where this type of individual's voice is in tone, is melodious, to the point that it resembles the shameful singing, the shameful singing within songs. He states, ثانيا فيها أصوات رخيمة جميلة تفتن هذا بقدر النظر عن موضوعها فلذلك لا نحكم عليها بحل ولا حرمة إلا بشيء معين نعرفه. He states, second, contained therein in these nasheed are beautiful melodious sounds and or voices that try and or test. And this is aside from its actual issue. So on account of that, we don't place a ruling upon it of permissibility or impermissibility except with something specific or particular that we know of it. And what the Shaykh is referring to is something within a particular nasheed, something within its content that will either make it permissible or impermissible. That's the first fatwa. The second fatwa is coming from volume 2, Al-Liqa' al-Khamis wa Thalathun, the 35th meeting, under the 14th question, نجد بعض أشرطة الأناشيد الإسلامية فيها تلحين يشبه تلحين الأغاني فما حكم ذلك? The questioner, he states, we stumble across certain tapes or cassettes of Islamic related nasheed. Therein are melodious tones that resemble musical composition. Composition. So what is the ruling concerning that? The Shaykh he responds, الذي أرى أن التلحين للأناشيد المباحة إذا كان تلحينا كأغاني المطربين فإنه حرام. So the Shaykh he basically states that his view concerning this type of these types of melodious tones and these types of harmonization that are found within these nasheed, if it is like songs from singers, then it is impermissible. And we know that there are certain nasheed, or there are certain people, artists, Muslim artists, that I guess do or call themselves doing spoken word and or poetry, and they have in the backdrop that which sounds exactly like a rap beat that is produced by an actual producer with musical instruments. But it said, no, there's no musical instruments in this production at all. It's usually people that are hemming or humming in some type of melodious way, some type of chanting or some type of, something that they're doing with their voices that makes it sound like that. So it literally sounds like a rap beat. I've heard more than one like this, and the first thing I said is like, man, this stuff sounds exactly like music. But people are saying, no, it's not music, it's people's voices. So anyway, the Shaykh, he's stating that if it sounds like the singers and their songs, those who are actually, then it is haram. لأنه تشبه بقوم لا يجوز التشبه بهم. And on account of it being the resembling of a people that is not permissible to resemble. وكذلك إذا كانت هذه الأناشيد قد لحنت من رجال أصواتهم جميلة جذابة يخشى منها الفتنة فإنها لا تجوز لما يخشى minha min al-fitna. And he states, and also if these nasheed, if the melodious tones, chanting or harmonizing is from men with beautiful and or attractive voices, to the point what is feared from the harmonization that's produced from them or emanating from them, if it is feared that from this occurs fitna, then in this case it is not permissible due to what is feared from it of fitna, of trial, of strife, of enticement, and thus forth and so on. So that's the second fatwa from Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih Al Uthaymin. The third fatwa is coming from volume 4. And it is Al-Liqa Al-Khamis wa Sab'un, or the 75th meeting. And it's the 19th question under the 75th meeting. And the questioner, he states, he said there are some nasheed in which there is within them melodious tones that make obligatory or that make necessary fitna. In other words, it's an essential component for the occurrence of fitna, this type of thing that's being referred to. So what is its ruling? So Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih Al Uthaymin, he responds, it is obligatory for us to know the beneficial principle, and it is كل ما كان سببا في فتنة فإن الواجب منعه. He states that any and all things that are considered to be a means to fitna, then it is obligatory to obstruct it. It's obligatory to prevent it. Now, this particular principle that Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih Al Uthaymin, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, is quoting, you find it being worded varying ways, but the meaning is all the same. Like, for instance, saddu dhara'a, or saddu dhari'a, yani closing the door, closing the door to the means of fitna, or to the means of that which is prohibited. Or the principle, لا يتم الحرام إلا بشيء فهو حرام. That if you cannot complete a forbidden act except by doing some other thing, except by way of something else, then that other thing is prohibited as well. And that is as it relates to something that is outside of that circumstance. If it was outside of that circumstance, it would normally be permissible. But if it is within a circumstance if there is a circumstance where it is the very means to achieve something prohibited by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, then within that particular circumstance, that thing that would normally be permissible, in that circumstance, it's impermissible. It's impermissible. And so this is what the principle that Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin is referring to. So he continues, so if there is in these Nasheed fitna, on account of it originating from these enticing voices or enticing sounds, then it is obligatory to obstruct it or to prevent it. وكذلك إذا كانت تغنى كالأغاني الماجنة. And also if one is singing like within the songs, the shameful songs, and having melodious tones like these, what is found in shameful songs, then it is obligatory to obstruct and or prevent it as well. And also, if it is inclusive of musical instruments like the duff or the tambourine or some other type of drum, or any type of musical instrument, then it is obligatory to prevent or obstruct it. And likewise, if it is that which kindles or provokes the lust or desires, like if contained therein is flirting, then it is obligatory to obstruct it. Thus, within these situations and or circumstances, these four situations and or circumstances, it is obligatory to obstruct it. And he says, however, these are just examples. These are just examples. وَالْقَائِدَةِ, but the principle, because he's taking the people back to a principle that they can apply in their everyday life. So he goes right back to that principle, sending the people right back to the principle. So, because certain things you may not have to ask a scholar, you can perceive that doing this is going to lead to that. Doing this is going to lead to that. It's going to lead to fitna. It's going to lead to harm. It's going to lead to prohibited, that which is prohibited, and thus forth and so on. So you don't necessarily have to ask a scholar if that is clear and explicit, that something is going to lead to one of those things. So this is why the Shaykh, and Allah knows best, brings the people right back to the principle. He says, وَالْقَائِدَةِ, these are just examples, but the principle is that whatsoever is a means to fitna, then it is obligatory to obstruct it. Then he says it again with different wording. Whatsoever leads to the prohibited, then it is obligatory to obstruct it. It is obligatory to obstruct it. And so the questioner, because I will send this to the questioner, and then I hope that answers your question. From that which Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin stated in these religious verdicts, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best. With that, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.